I'm about to go off like a weapon. Fuel to the top, got a filled up engine. In my thoughts, obsession. I will not stop, no, I'm never second guessing. I got a God complex. Haters love to hate, but I never feel pressed. Got a lot on my plate, but I never get stressed.
All right. Let's go looky here on the internet. Verdict in for Trump now? Where? Where do I go? Hold on. Verdict for Trump. Why does it say jury resumes? Okay. Hush money in 30 minutes. How are we going to do this, people? 30 minutes. They said 30 minutes. Yes, 30 minutes. Hold on. That's so much crap going on here. Hold on. This is what I do want to say. Let's go here to East Idaho News real quick. I mean, do you remember during Lori's? I mean, you would think that she was a movie star. There ain't nobody here hardly for Chad. Chad, no one's here for you, Chad. Nothing. Nada. Eh? Nada. Here we go. Let's say what Nate has to say here.
Found guilty. Chad Daybell found guilty on all charges: conspiracy to commit murder of Tammy Daybell, conspiracy to commit the murder of Tylee Ryan, conspiracy to commit the murder of JJ Vallow, the murders of JJ Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and Tammy Daybell, and 2 counts of insurance fraud. Guilt across the board. This jury deliberated for about 6 hours. They started yesterday afternoon, and the verdict came down, well, before 2 o'clock. We got word around 1:15-ish that a verdict had been reached. We were given the notice that we needed to be ready for that verdict, and it was read at 2 o'clock. The courtroom was packed. I can tell you, lots of tears, lots of sniffles as this verdict was read. We walked out in the hallway afterward, and law enforcement officers were crying. They were hugging Larry and Kay Woodcock. Samantha, or Tammy Daybell's father, hugged Larry Woodcock as the two of them cried together. A lot of emotion in that courtroom. This, of course, has been nearly a 5-year ordeal, and these families have waited for this day. Chad Daybell showed little emotion. And what happens from here is, in less than an hour, we'll be back in the courtroom, and the penalty phase of this trial will continue. What does that mean? It means that Tammy Daybell's siblings and her dad have prepared statements that will be read from the stand. They will get to read victim impact statements that basically share how they feel and how this has affected them. Chad Daybell's children could also read those statements, but they were not in the courtroom today. They were not here. No word if they are coming. And then, because this is the penalty phase, the jury will then go back and deliberate if Chad Daybell should get the death penalty or life in prison. It's unclear how long that process will happen. I mean, who knows? It could be later today if all the victims go. It could go into tomorrow. It could go through the weekend. But the big news today, if you're just tuning in, Chad Daybell found guilty of murdering JJ Vallow, Tylee Ryan, his wife Tammy Daybell, in her bed. He's found guilty of conspiracy to commit the murders of JJ, of Tylee, of Tammy, and he's found guilty of 2 counts of insurance fraud. Now, I don't expect that we'll see people coming down here just yet. After Lori Vallow's verdict last year, Larry and Kay Woodcock came down to address the press. I believe that they're going to stay up there until the penalty phase of the verdict happens. And I don't know how long that will last. I have to give you a little behind the scenes look at how this verdict, at least how we found out about it. Earlier this morning, the jury had a question. And the court reconvened. The jury was called in, the judge was called in, everybody gathered in the courtroom, and there was part of an instruction that was not included. And the jury had a question about what that particular part of the instruction needed to be. So the judge added a 40-second instruction to the packet. They then went back and deliberated. Around 1 o'clock, we were sitting in the courtroom. There was a bailiff in there. There was some court staff. Another bailiff opened the back door, not back where near the judge's chambers are. And he said to the other guy, "Hey, come here now." And immediately we knew something's going on. This bailiff then left the courtroom. About 5 or 10 minutes later, Kay Woodcock was in the courtroom with us. She yelled, "We have a verdict." And several people in the courtroom cheered, and the bailiff said, "You can't do that, no cheering." And then I started to get multiple texts from people saying the verdict's in, the verdict's in. The courtroom started to fill up with law enforcement officers from Fremont County, the FBI, the Rexburg Police Department, the Attorney General's office, agencies from all across the state. They're represented in that courtroom. They have worked hard for this day, and they have got the verdict that they were hoping for, that the state has been working for. And, of course, Chad Daybell's defense attorney argued that he had nothing to do with this, but the jury thought otherwise. So, again, we're about to start that penalty phase. We will carry that for you live. The judge said that's going to start around 3:15 Mountain Time. It's 2:25 now, so we have about 50 minutes for that to happen. I can give you a look, Jordan. Why don't we pan if we need to? There are people gathered here outside the courthouse. Just kind of pan around. You can see cameras from news stations locally and national news networks. And then behind Jordan, I don't know if you can swing all the way around to a 360. There are people who are out here just at the courthouse. Just they wanted to come by. They wanted to see what was happening. And they are gathered here on the courthouse steps to see what this verdict is. This trial has been over 8 weeks long. If you include jury selection, it was 9 weeks. Jury selection started April 1st, and then witnesses started the following week with opening statements and witnesses and evidence. And then just yesterday, closing arguments. The prosecution took about 2 hours. The defense took about an hour and a half. And then the prosecution went back for a rebuttal closing that was nearly an hour too. And the jury began deliberating around 4 o'clock yesterday. They wrapped things up around 6. They are in sequestration. They cannot go home. So they went to their hotel, which is somewhere in the county, where they spent the night. They were back early this morning, 8 o'clock. And, hey, Janice, can I interview you? Okay. There's somebody that's been here every day from Rexburg that I thought I might get her thoughts. Julie, you want to grab her, Jordan, see if she'll talk? Lady in the denim shirt. A lady from Texas who knew Lori Vallow was also here. And Jordan's just going to run and grab her, see if she'll do a quick interview with me. We can get her thoughts about this whole thing. I don't know if she wants to do it, but she was in the courtroom when the verdict was read. Can I just ask you a quick question? Sure. You'll be great. I interviewed you last year.
Yes, you did.
Remind everybody of your name.
Shelley Vester.
And Shelley, you're from Texas.
Yes, Austin.
And you were in the courtroom just now.
Yes, I was.
And describe the feeling.
Amazing. Tense, but relief.
Yeah.
It's a journey that's ending.
And did you predict that verdict?
Yes.
You did?
Of course. Yes.
Not surprised at all?
Not surprised. No.
What did you think looking at Chad Daybell as that verdict was read?
I was wondering if he was breathing. He was no expression at all.
Kind of like what we've seen the whole trial in a way, but was this different?
No, I think well, he did look a little pale. Did you think he looked a little pale?
I was sitting actually behind him, so
Okay.
I couldn't quite see his face, and there was a deputy in the way, but there was no movement as far as I could see.
Like you didn't even know if he was breathing, no blink, of course, which he never does, right? So, yeah.
You've been here several days, and you were here earlier in the trial.
I have. Yes.
What's your overall takeaway? I mean, why the draw? Why come out from Texas to spend time here?
Well, I was associated with Lori many years ago.
She did Lori's hair. Can I announce that?
Lori did my hair.
Lori did her
Lori
hair.
did
I
my
think we
hair.
said that last year.
Yes,
Yeah,
for 10 years. So
10 years.
So I played with Tylee when she was young, And I'm just here to support Tylee and Joe, and of course the other victims as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you happen to be here on verdict day.
No, and nobody was sitting in front of us.
Yeah,
So that was nice.
Were you here for Lori's verdict?
No, not
Okay.
for the verdict.
That
No.
courthouse was packed that day. There were more media, it seemed, that day, although it's kind of picked up out here.
It has.
And
Yep.
and this is the result you wanted. Are you going back in for the
Yes.
penalty phase?
Oh yes, I'll be here till Saturday.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. I know
You're
you did a
welcome.
great interview.
Thank you
You
very
did good.
much. Thank
She's
you.
been here early every day with the
Yes.
group.
And thanks for the donuts.
Yes, brought donuts this morning. I guess that my theory on bringing donuts
You're
helped.
right. Yes. You're a repeat
Right.
because you brought them for Lori's trial
I
for
brought
the
'em-
verdict day, right?
Verdict day,
Verdict
brought
day.
donuts. We got the verdict in,
Yes.
and then did it again this year.
So that means you need to go to Arizona and bring donuts
I
as
will
well.
do it.
Okay.
I will do it. Let's not talk
Okay.
about Arizona yet, though. Although that she does bring up a good point. We do have another trial.
Did you hear
for Lori
him?
Vallow,
Let's not
who is
talk
in
about Arizona
in the
yet.
Maricopa County Jail
It's not ready yet.
in relation to the deaths of Charles Vallow, her fourth husband, and the conspiracy of the death of Brandon Boudreaux. So she faces conspiracy charges on both of those people, Charles and Brandon. That trial is scheduled to begin in August, but I don't think it will be happening in August. I think it will be happening early next year. Many of you are just tuning in. Chad Daybell found guilty this afternoon on all counts, 3 first-degree murder counts, including J.J. Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and Tammy Daybell. 3 conspiracy to commit first-degree murder counts, Tylee Ryan, J.J. Vallow, Tammy Daybell. 2 counts of insurance fraud for the insurance money that he used after Tammy Daybell died. He used those funds. And Chad Daybell killed his wife. He killed J.J. Vallow. He killed Tylee Ryan. And he conspired with Lori Vallow to commit their murders. That is what a jury decided on this afternoon when they handed down this verdict less than 20 minutes ago. And now we wait to see what his punishment will be. Will he face the death penalty? Will he face life in prison? Idaho has not sentenced somebody to death since 2017. This would be the first. This would be the first death penalty case in eastern Idaho in I don't know how many years. Several years, possibly over a decade or more. But that jury could very well come back after this penalty phase and say Chad Daybell deserves to die for the crimes he committed against his wife and the
We
children.
looked at that last night. The last one they sentenced to death was 2017. Remember, Grandma?
Yep.
Yep. Let's see what the people got to say. Let's see what the people got to say. That's what I want. There we go.
Event or something like that, where just people were so excited, and it was really cool. And as I heard Judge Boyce read off all the charges, I started getting a little emotional too, which kind of surprised me because I've been involved with this case for a little bit, and I've always seen it as like an outside thing. But I was kind of shocked that I got a little choked up. But yeah, it's exciting, and I'm happy that we have verdict.
I'm going to call over this woman. Jordan, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I talk to you real quick? This is Megan. She was inside the courtroom. What was your thought being inside the courtroom as this verdict came down?
It's about time. 5 years. Justice has been served for Tylee, JJ, and Tammy. And next we're going to get justice for Charles.
What was the feeling in there?
Heavy. A mix of emotions. Happy, sad, nervous. Just really heavy. Really heavy.
Were you surprised at the verdict?
No. I was a little nervous about the JJ charge, but no, I knew justice would be served, and the jury of his peers has spoken, and he was found guilty, just like his wife.
Did you have a chance to look at Chad when the guilty verdict was read?
I did.
And what was his reaction?
No reaction. He didn't even make a facial expression whatsoever. No sad, no happy. He didn't move his shoulders. I'm shocked that he didn't react.
You have been one of the original people from the beginning following this, haven't you?
I have, yes.
What got you interested in the case?
When I saw missing kids and I was local it just went straight to my heart, and I knew I needed to be a voice. And I've stuck through it since day one, and we got a lot more to go.
And you don't live in Rexburg.
I don't live in Rexburg. No, I lived in Meridian.
You lived in Meridian, and you traveled in for today.
I did. I traveled from Nevada for this verdict today.
From Nevada, and you have the bracelets on. Hold those up. She's got Justice for JJ, Tylee, Tammy. Is Charles? I'm sure is on
Charles,
there too.
Yep.
You've seen their photos over and over and over. I mean, they've become part of your life. I'm sure it's kind of an emotional day for you.
It's very emotional. I've gotten really close with the family, and they mean a lot to me. So feeling them and seeing their reaction is what we're here for. They've been through a lot, and they deserve this.
Are you going back up in a few minutes?
I sure will.
Witnesses.
Yep.
All right.
I'm here.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you, Nate.
Good to see you. Just one of the many people who were in the courtroom today, and you can see there was just such a wide range of emotions. I can only imagine what's happening.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Okay, let's check it out. Trump, 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 Trump.
They're being brought back to the court. They will be asked for their verdict on every one of those 34 charges. They will also individually be asked how they voted as jurors. Their defense will respond to that, and we will discover whether Donald Trump had to become the first ever president in the history of the United States to be convicted of crimes. 12 hours those 12 men and women represent 500 have come to the decision and change Donald Trump's very shortly discover whether or not
she's over there. I took her over. Like a little nod or something. I saw it was. I just like it on live right now. I'm sorry.
So freaking stupid.
All right, once the jurors are ready to be brought in, they can enter the courtroom, please.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's not muted. I am.
All right, please.
Okay.
Here's our president counter for you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Please be seated. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. We are back on the record on case CR 2221-1623, State of Idaho versus Chad Guy Daybell. The court notes that earlier this afternoon, the jury returned a verdict of guilty on several counts that are subject to this capital sentencing phase, including in the verdict form counts 1, count 2, count 3, count 4, count 5, and count 6 of the amended indictment. The court at this time then is going to commence with the capital sentencing phase. I'll note that in this case, the jurors have returned, including the juror alternates that are here as well, and the 12 jurors who returned the verdict under Idaho Code 192515, subsection 5B. The court is using the same jury to conduct this phase of sentencing also. And that statute reads that if the defendant's guilt was determined by a jury verdict, the same jury shall hear the special sentencing proceeding. So we are in that special sentencing proceeding. As I mentioned, the jurors are here and present. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, thank you for continuing your jury service. You've again been seated for your continued service in this case. And that's the matter we're taking up at this time. To give you an idea of just the schedule, the court has some preliminary instructions that are going to be read to you this afternoon. We're going to commence then with further evidence on the sentencing phase starting tomorrow morning after I read these preliminary instructions. And the court's proposal on our typical scheduled plan would be to start at 8:30. Is the state going to be ready to proceed at 8:30 with any impact statements that may be offered?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, that's how we'll run the scheduling at this point then, and I'll inquire as to the jurors going forward, also the scheduling we'll have during this phase of the proceedings. They don't need to be limited to the timeframes we've had throughout the trial, including, depending on how long this takes, weekends. So I am essentially leaving up to the jurors their proposed schedule within reason of when we'll work through this proceeding. So the court is going to read some preliminary instructions then to the jurors. And again, you'll receive additional jurors when you retire to deliberate on this part of the case. But for now, the court will just read these and those will be included with you later. So in this case, the defendant in this case has been convicted now of the crimes of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. We will now have a sentencing phase of the trial regarding those offenses. Additional evidence may be presented during the sentencing phase. You should also consider the evidence presented during the trial. Before the death penalty can be considered, the state must prove at least one statutory aggravating circumstance beyond a reasonable doubt. If you unanimously decide that the state has so proven one or more statutory aggravating circumstances, then you must decide whether the imposition of the death penalty would be unjust by weighing all mitigating circumstances against each proven statutory aggravating circumstance. At a separate proceeding, the court will sentence the defendant for other offenses of which you have found the defendant guilty. Instruction number 2. Your duties are to determine the facts, to apply the law set forth in my instruction to those facts, and in this way to decide the case. In so doing, you must follow my instructions regardless of your own opinion of what the law is or should be, or what either side may state the law to be. You must consider them as a whole, not picking out one and disregarding others. The order in which the instructions are given has no significance as to their relative importance. The law requires that your decision be made solely upon the evidence before you. Faithful performance by you of these duties is vital to the administration of justice. In determining the facts, you may consider only the evidence admitted during this trial and during the sentencing phase. The production of evidence in court is governed by rules of law. At times during the sentencing phase, an objection may be made to questions asked a witness or to a witness's answer or to an exhibit. This simply means I'm being asked to decide a particular rule of law. Arguments on the admissibility of evidence are designed to aid the court and not to be considered by you nor affect your deliberations. If I sustain an objection to a question or to an exhibit, the witness may not answer the question or the exhibit may not be considered. Do not attempt to guess what the answer might have been or what the exhibit might have shown. Similarly, if I tell you not to consider a particular statement or exhibit, you should put it out of your mind and not refer to it or rely on it in your later deliberations. During the sentencing phase, I may have to talk with the parties about the rules of law, which should apply in the case. Sometimes that will occur at the bench. Other times you may be excused from the courtroom so that we can discuss those matters. You are not to speculate about any such discussions. They are necessary from time to time and help the sentencing phase run more smoothly. Some of you have probably heard the terms circumstantial evidence, direct evidence, and hearsay evidence. Do not be concerned with those terms. You are to consider all the evidence admitted during the trial and during the sentencing phase. However, the law does not require you to believe all the evidence. As the sole judges of the facts, you must determine what evidence you believe and what weight you attach to it. If any evidence is admitted for a limited purpose, you are not to consider it for any other purpose. There is no magical formula by which one may evaluate testimony. You bring with you to this courtroom all the experience and background of your lives. In your everyday affairs, you determine for yourselves whom you believe, what you believe, and how much weight you attach to what you are told. The same considerations that you use in your everyday dealings in making these decisions are the considerations which you should apply in your deliberations. In deciding what you believe, do not make your decision simply because more witnesses may have testified one way than the other. Your role is to think about the testimony of each witness you hear and decide how much you believe of what the witness had to say. A witness who has special knowledge in a particular matter may give an opinion on that matter. In determining the weight to give such opinion, you should consider the qualifications and credibility of the witnesses and the reasons given for the opinion. You are not bound by such opinion. Give it the weight, if any, to which you deem it entitled. Instruction number 3. It is presumed that no statutory aggravating circumstance exists in this case. This presumption remains throughout the sentencing phase and during your deliberations. The state has the burden of proving the existence of a statutory aggravating circumstance, and that burden remains on the state throughout the sentencing phase. The defendant is not required to prove the absence of any aggravating circumstance, nor is the defendant required to produce any evidence at all. The state must prove the existence of a statutory aggravating circumstance beyond a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is not a mere possible or imaginary doubt. It is a doubt based on reason and common sense. It may arise from a careful and impartial consideration of all the evidence or from lack of evidence. If after considering all the evidence you have a reasonable doubt about the defendant's guilt, you must find the defendant not guilty. That in this time then concludes the initial preliminary instructions for the sentencing phase. And the court is going to be in recess then until 8:30 in the morning, when we'll commence with evidence on that phase of the trial. Before we break for the day, does the state have anything further?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Anything further from the defense?
Nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll note that the jurors will remain sequestered during these proceedings and will begin again tomorrow at 8:30. Thank you again for your continued service, and that will conclude our matter for for today. Thank you.
All right.
That's it? That's it? I thought they were doing victim impact statements. What is going on? What did I miss? Anybody? Answer, please. What is going on? This is so weird. Why take that hour and then come back for a few minutes just to say be back tomorrow? I don't understand.
I don't get it either. Because even Nate said something about, victim impact statements, and they were going to stay until quite late. Even the Kay and Larry were going to stay late.
I mean, are they thinking about the people that are sitting there that's been waiting for justice?
Well, that's what I mean. Kay and Larry were staying because they were supposed to be able to give their victim impact statements.
Unbelievable.
I know.
Well, that's Idaho.
Yeah. And it's early there, so I don't understand why they did that. Probably because they didn't want to interrupt victim impact statements. They want them all like on one day.
Well, I don't know.
I guess that's what we'll be doing tomorrow.
Unbelievable. All right, I'm going to go. I got some stuff going on here at home anyway, so.
Okay, are you going to be around tomorrow?
Yeah.
All right, dear. You know how to get me.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for coming in, everyone.
Bye-bye.